you, Vishesh, and thank you, Srinath, for joining this session and taking time out of your busy schedule and uh, helping us to understand this domain, which is completely alien to us from a general perspective. If we see now, I have some questions which was scribbled a couple of hours back, but. Initially, I would like to take this opportunity uh, for you to give us a brief intro about yourself and how this whole thing shaped up for you. Which is starting with you, and then we will move to Srinath.
I'm a co-founder at Special Invest. It's a seed state fund that invests in deep science and deep technology companies. We've now been doing this for the last 4 years. We've done rockets. We've done companies that are beaming lasers from Earth to space. We've done companies that are building robotic arms. We've done companies that are now making flying cars and companies that make motorbikes. So part of our life is to now look at what are technologies of the future, what do people need for the future, and what's really relevant. So some of our day job now involves looking to see what's ahead of us, right? And in one of those meetings, we met a couple of people who were looking to move out of Israel and do a startup. And we were quite intrigued because it was the first time we heard someone saying that they wanted to do that. And our meeting from them sort of led us to go and introspect into what's going on in this sector, right? At a 30,000 feet level, what got me excited was the fact that, for the last 15 years, a lot of the investments in different parts of the globe have been around data, data that consumers have been creating, data that enterprises have been creating. And the biggest data that's being created is the data that's being created by humans on Earth. And the best way to sort of get a very holistic view of that data is to go outside Earth and look at that data, or be able to capture the data with a photograph or with a thermal image. And of course, drones can do a decent job of doing a little bit of that, but to be getting a very holistic view of a large real estate or a large part of the Earth, you need to be in space.
Yeah.
And that sort of got us saying that, hey, it seems like a very obvious need and an obvious thing to do, and why haven't people gone after it? And I think from a timing standpoint, what got us even more excited was the fact that there's a lot of miniaturization that's gone around in hardware, and that sort of led to satellites getting smaller at one end. And thanks to sort of what I call pioneers of private space 1.0, likes of SpaceX, have brought down the cost of launch quite significantly. That's led to what I would say, commercialization or reaching commercial stage for businesses to consider using space intelligence. And that's what got us to space, and that's what got us to. I mean, there are parts of it which there's upstream and downstream. I won't talk too much about that for now. Hopefully, we'll cover that during the rest of the conversation. Yeah. But that's sort of what got us interested in space.
Sure. Thank you, Vishesh. Srinath, over to you. Just a brief intro, then I'll come to the whole space part of it.
I'm from Chennai. I grew up here, and I've always been an aerospace enthusiast. Grew up reading Arthur C. Clarke fiction, what they call as hard science fiction, and so on. And then for my engineering, I went to College of Engineering Gindi at Chennai. Did electrical engineering. I wanted to do aerospace. I got an seat also, but my parents were very clear that probably it's better off doing something in electrical or electronics. Getting a job in aero is not easy, and so on. Then after that, worked in India for a couple of years in motor design, electric motor design. And then always there was a space thing there, but everyone around me was doing something in finance. So I got a little curious about finance. I ended up doing a master's in financial engineering from Columbia University in New York. And that landed me a job as a bond trader, as fixed income derivatives trader in New York. It was very interesting time to be in New York for me because I'd always seen New York like how you would see it in a movie, right? But then I went in 2008. every day there was one less company to apply to for a job. So that sort of, that disillusioned me a little bit about, okay, what is actually in finance. But I did realize one thing very clearly, the importance of where money fits into the whole picture, right? And I would not have gotten that if not for an experience like that, because I was a core, physics, fiction, that kind of a guy. So for me, this change was really interesting. But then I quickly realized, I can't do this for a living. So I have to go back to engineering. But by that time, I also had some financial independence. So did my second master's. This was in aerospace engineering. Quit all this whole New York story. Went to LA, which is where SpaceX was. And that was literally the only reason why I moved to LA from New York, because I wanted to be around the SpaceX ecosystem, learning what people can do and so on. And there I found it very interesting that, there were so many people building small satellites. The barrier to make a small satellite was so less, but it was all just waiting in the labs. Like no one was actually able to launch. And then some small weird idea came that, hey, why can't you build like a small rocket and so on? It was not a business model or anything, but that's where it started, the seed of the idea. Then I got introduced to, I wouldn't say I got introduced to, but some fourth level connection after some bunch of cold calls led me to a person by name Professor Satya Chakravarti at IIT Madras. Convinced Somyam, another co-founder, we both convinced him that this is worth spending some time on. Actually, he was already a little bit interested there. So all those things lined up, and then Agnikul started. But that's basically the story. I moved back to Chennai in 2017 October. That's when I moved back. So that's the story.
But I mean, why space? I mean, what? As you told that you were interested there, but was it always a plan of yours to get a career in space, or now that you look back, what's that starting line, and what were you aiming for at that time to solve? Was there a problem and big enough to solve? I mean, for us, in the age group where you were planning to start a space company, I mean, rockets and all were like still something we go out and see. Okay, this is there. We don't know much about it, and getting into that domain is like you need to be too crazy to do that for sure. And yeah, and apparently you also mentioned that parents didn't want you to enter that zone. So what was it? I mean, when you look back today, what was that starting point where you thought you'll be going to start a company?
So, I mean, my space enthusiasm is, I don't know why exactly, but I've always been just fascinated by space. I guess it was just because of the books I was reading when I was really young. And also I have 2 or 3 physics people in my family. So I think some of all of that became, a reason for why I have a passion for space and aerospace in general. Like I remember getting, like for my 10th birthday or something, like an astronomy quiz book. That was what my birthday gift. I think. So I just ended up being a space nerd to some level. But then
I guess, but if I can jump in a little bit there, but I think you need to be half crazy to be able to do this. You need tenacity, you need patience, and you need a level of perseverance that's an order of magnitude more than in most other businesses, because this is truly demanding. There's physics, there's mechanical engineering, there's electronics, and then there's God as well. So at least that's the inside joke for us and the belief as well. You need to really have a 20-year vision to go build a company in space. And I'm just glad we're very fortunate to partner with one such.
So Vishesh and Srinath, yours is like a Batman and Robin story where two people are planning. One is investing, other one is building. That's to take human from Earth to the different planet. Was that the plan altogether?
Yeah, now you can look back and connect the dots like that.
Yes, go ahead, Srinath. Yeah, continue.
No, I think Vishesh was right about that part. For me, the real flip happened after I had been in New York, and I just this itch for engineering nearly never left me, right? And I wanted to do something that I honestly liked, and I could actually spend my time feeling like I actually added value to this ecosystem, or more like something different I did in the planet, right? That is how it really started. Of course, there was a lot of inspiration around in US, and moving to LA really helped me, because this was almost like SpaceX was making rockets look easy. It is not even close, but they made it look easy, and they still continue to make it look easy, right? So if you have that, if your heart is already in it, stories like SpaceX will push you in the right direction. So I think that is what gave me that push that was needed. So, and even now, I absolutely, there is a lot of, as a co-founder, as a founder, you would know there's a lot of firefighting every day, right? But this love for the subject keeps me going, and love for what we are building keeps me going.
So, do you think the problem was big enough for Indian companies to jump into or start when you see the Indian startup ecosystem? Do you think there was something which Indian startups ecosystem can contribute to the space? Now, for us, when we look at everything is ISRO and the government agencies doing it for. Uh, where did you see the problem big enough for a startup to enter or a bunch of startups to enter that domain?
So, I mean, I guess India actually had already laid the platform, right? If we anyone to start off, you already have like like a tall platform to start from, because India has already, ISRO has developed the vendor ecosystem. It's not a new thing for us, the country, for anyone and to approach doing anything in space tech in India. You don't need to start from scratch. You kind of know what has to be done. You have access to retired scientists and so on. So for me, the question really was, okay, as a startup which didn't have, and when I was starting off, we didn't have, I mean, we had some money, but not like money to build something too big. We had to kind of bootstrap our way even at the product level. So, and there was this business need as well. There were small satellites. They were really not easily finding their way to space. And so there seems to be the gap. It was not too expensive to attempt it. It was also doable within a reasonable amount of time frame where we could actually go through a VC route for it, as opposed to saying, hey, give me 20 years and only then I'll even be able to do something meaningful. That was not there. It was possible to bootstrap this into like a bunch of products, each of them making money and so on. So all of that came together. And I think India is great because you get the best of both worlds in some sense, right? You have all the know-how here with people, and it is definitely slightly inexpensive. And for me, this is where I grew up. So that network was also there. So yeah, all of that together.
Vishesh, coming to you, I mean, as an investor, did you when your firm was investing in space tech domain, where did you see the growth? I mean, do you again from the problem perspective, did you see that there's really a big market there where these startups are trying to bet on? What was your thought process or your
Yeah.
team's thought process before landing up the first
So
investment?
let me distill this, right? I mean, let's get the facts on this case. Space markets over $200 billion, growing to about $1 trillion plus. India's share is what's up 2, 3, 4%. Uh, it's a sitting duck as far as just the space heritage this nation has and the sort of engineering capability and competency this nation has. We're among the first 5 countries that were able to do this. So it's a surprise that we don't have a double-digit holding of that market, right? So the market's large enough. There's really no debate or discussion on that. It's so large that you don't have to worry about where to start. You just have to make it work, right? So that was an obvious for us. The point really was, hey, what are problems worth solving for in the next 3 to 5 years, and who are the founders who sort of have a 15, 20-year vision to sort of build something very meaningful out of the country, right? And we sort of picked 2 or 3 spots in it. In our view of life, we felt that if small satellites are out there and they have to wait for anywhere between 12 and 18 months to get out to space, and then they're also charged sort of exorbitantly for irrespective of what their size was. We felt there was an opportunity there to go build a rocket that's massively customizable for size, and a rocket that can sort of launch to go from weeks as against months. And that's clearly something that Srinath and their team at Agnikul are building out. The second hypothesis we had was, listen, if everybody and their uncle are putting satellites up in space, someone's going to find a way to communicate cheaply to ground stations. And today, there's RF, which is good, but that's like our dial-up internet. It's expensive, it's limiting in bandwidth. And then we backed a company called Astrogates that's building laser communication terminals to essentially bring a 100x change in how communication happens today, because it's 10x cheaper and 10x faster.
Thanks, Vishesh. So, Srinath, coming back to you, I mean, fundraise when we talk about fundraise, seeing the whole tech startup being backed around.
The 3 segments that we picked within space.
Oh, sorry. I guess Vishesh, we had a bad network at your end, so we missed your last line. Can you repeat that for us?
No, the last line was, I said we backed a company in the launch vehicle. We backed a company that makes communication terminals, and the third company is a company called Kava Space. They essentially make it very easy for traditional businesses to to understand space intelligence and make business decisions. So they
Cool.
could, in theory, help ICICI Bank make an agri loan in a few minutes as against in a few months.
Okay. Srinath, coming back to you, when this business requires a lot of capital to be infused to, and then there is a lot of gestation period also. So when the whole ecosystem was going gaga around software products and other things, how did you convince your investors to put their bets in a space domain? What was your pitch at that time?
So, I mean, with Specialized particularly, I think they already had a view on this, right? So for me, it was really about convincing that we were the people who are going to be doing this, as opposed to saying, hey, there is something called space ecosystem, and in that you could also build rockets, and in that there is a market and all that. Because Vishesh and Arjun, they'd already done their homework on that part. But for me, what was the big challenge? So basically beyond Specially, and even for the previous round, there was a little bit of that was Indian investing community is actually still getting to learn about how big the market actually is. So there is this 3-phase process where we kind of have to go through an educational phase where we tell people that, this is what it is. We provide them material and so on. And then comes the question of, okay, within that overall space business, where are we? And there is a little more focused learning there. And then it comes to Agnikul and Srinath and my other co-founder, Moin and Prof and so on. So, I mean, till I met Speciale, and I think Speciale was like, I already pitched to some 70, 80 people by then, maybe even more. I don't remember now. He's easily in the higher double digits. It was more of that cycle, right? I was convincing people that, hey, there is a market for this and so on. So for me, it became easy with Vishesh, particularly because he had already, he knew the market.
I think the biggest myth is that there's a lot of money needed. I think Agnikul needs a lot less money to go to space than Swiggy needs to turn profitable in Tamil Nadu. So
that's right, and also the gestation period part.
So that the whole capital and the gestation are both myths, and I think that's why some of these new age companies are building some very cool things.
Oh, great! That's an interesting insight. Vishesh, where do you see the future from an Indian market perspective? What do you suggest for people who are exploring their career in this domain?
Well, I think I think the timing is a lot. I think the timing is a lot better now than it was 18 months ago, right? The country's sort of taken a strong view on opening up private participation space and encouraging private participation in space, which means that if I were a founder now fresh and I don't have a particular idea or a view, then I would want to go into and see what does ISRO need in the next 10, 15 years to be complementary and to go on the route of aligning with them and helping them along their different ways, or find out where they're looking for private interest in participation and look at that. They're large enough. They've done a lot of work, tremendous respect and great heritage. So I don't think one should consider going the competing route. You should try and go down the route of being complementary with them.
Okay. Thanks. Srinath, what's your suggestion if somebody is planning to start up in this domain, or a student who is like, we have a bunch of students also who have joined the session today. If they are planning to have their career in that domain, what is the future of this domain where they should focus on, or they should look for to enhance their talent in that particular domain, which will help them in their career aspiration towards space?
So I think aerospace, any industry, not just launch vehicles that we are doing, but anything, there is always an amalgamation of multiple engineering streams, right? So a lot of software is there, a lot of electronics, and a lot of mechanical related stuff as well. So whatever stream you are in, if you're looking at being an engineer or a design person, there's always scope for that. In fact, we go with this tagline when we recruit, right? If you're good at anything, if you're really, really good at anything, you have a place at Agnikul. That is really what we believe in. And that is what the company demands and the product demands. That said, anyone who wants to start up and who wants to build a new company out in India, I think this is the best time. Till now, at least, given all of India's space story, today is literally the best time, because we have the government actually encouraging private players to come up and do things. So this has never been so explicit. Indian space, ISRO has always partnered with private players, but it has been more on a subsystem vendor kind of a relationship. Now they're encouraging people to come forward and build things. And maybe if these people who are wanting to start up can find problems that ISRO is too busy to solve, that ISRO cannot put all of its effort to solve it, because I think ISRO, if they want to do something, they will do it. It's not a big deal. But the question is what bandwidth they have for that, and if we can take off some of that load and do our small piece to benefit the country and also complement ISRO. And that is how I think Agnikul is playing out today. And I would encourage all entrepreneurs to look at it that way. One last bit of advice: hardware generally is very hard. Things don't quickly work, and with space tech, you don't get that alpha beta versions like software, right? The first version that goes out will actually have to work. So that part they should be a little more aware of, the what do you call, the discipline required, which is usually a little hard, particularly when you're young and when you're starting out. I think that space tech startups will need that very, very early on. So that was something I found interesting in our own company. So I just wanted to share.
Okay, we'll take some audience questions. Skill sets you have already answered, I guess. So there's someone asking, what are the common supply chain pain points for running a space tech startup in India? And are there any B2B opportunities? These are coming in the chat box. You can also see. The other question is, what satellite subsystems can space startups build to provide services?
Yeah, so I mean, vendor management is very important for a hardware startup. Again, nothing specific to space, but in space, again, the qualification part becomes very interesting, right? So you need to have a strategy on how you talk to a vendor. There is a lot of questions. So we need to be very, very clear on what the vendor has to meet before the vendor supplies a product. It could be a small valve, it could be an electronic component. You need to be clear about what qualifications it has to go through, what certifications are needed, because if that is not taken care of, then some small failure will happen, and then that will set you back a little bit. So that discipline is required. You need to talk to a vendor exactly knowing what you want. There is a story where we've heard in ISRO multiple times where the inspection starts, like if you're going to inspect like a pipe, right? The inspection for the vendor starts where the where the ore was actually converted to metal that was used to cast the pipe. That is where the inspection starts. So that's how deep you need to go to make sure that there are no flaws in the process. So that is a very important strategy for any space tech company. That is my point on the vendor part itself. A lot of opportunities there. I think you could definitely access that. Other question was on constellation.
What is the size of market that Agnikul is addressing?
Today is $2 billion a year. That's the kind of market today. I think the most expectations are predicting to be at least $4 to $5 billion per year in the next 4 to 5 years. That is
okay. There is another question which is talking about there are already many constellation of satellites. Do you think there is enough space in the Earth orbit to launch satellites? How your company thinks to survive if there are any restrictions?
Well, I think space debris is being watched out very carefully for. So there's space for everyone. First of all, space is really big. So let us get that fact out, right? It's not like, okay, we'll have 100,000 satellites and there'll be no space. But it is getting crowded. And of course, you can't let it become a junkyard for dead electronic devices up there. So there are people who are now talking about deorbiting protocols. You need to have, it's almost like you're renting an orbit, right? It's like orbital real estate is the phrase you should be looking at, where you get an orbit for a certain amount of time and then you do your work and you come back down and let someone else do it, or you at least renew your contract and keep going. So there are actions going on there. So I think there is actually a business case to be made there. Today, I don't know how early we are, but I hope actually people can come in there and solve that. That's going to be a big area that will get a lot of demand very soon, and more people are going.
Thank you. Coming back to you, Vishesh, I mean, if the startups who are here working in this domain, what is the kind of traction you want to look into before you try to start some discussion with them around investments? What do you look in such in your portfolio in a company to put it under your portfolio?
So I think we're a pre-seed seed investor. We come in very early. So a lot of the time for us, it's just founder market fit and vision. Is this the right founder for this business, and are they thinking through it the right way? Yeah, by and large, it's just that. We come in pretty early in this company. We're not necessarily looking for someone who's built a rocket or shown half the rocket built or any of that, or satellites for that matter. Yeah.
Sure.
But that's very specific to us because we're a deep science and tech fund, and we come in a seed round. So that's not universally applicable to the rest of the venture world.
Okay, so you from your portfolio company, you introduce to other investors or big companies. Which are the other investment firms that are focusing in this domain? If just for the knowledge for our founders
Oh,
here who
sure,
have joined.
absolutely. I mean, you've got Pi Ventures, they're good friends of ours. They've also invested in Magnipool. Then there's Artha, and there are a couple of more people. Of course, you've seen Bloom make an investment. You've seen Lightspeed make an investment. GrowX has made an investment. I think there are about half a dozen venture capital firms that have already invested in this space. And then there are guys who invested in Bellatrix. So the two, three other investors there as well. So I think, yeah, there's about 6 to 9 of them who've already made investments in space tech.
So, I mean, are there any clusters specific to this domain in India, like where these talent or these startups or the resources to build the infrastructure for these startups are available? Do you think any city or any cluster is like very
I think
active
it's a
in
little
India?
bit of work in progress. There's one in Kerala called State, which is like a Kerala State Park, Space Tech Park. So that'll be an interesting one that sort of come up early this year. And we'll have to sort of wait out to see what infrastructure they're able to provide. Clearly, they're also closer to ISRO from where they are in Trivandrum, and that's good access. They also have access to a great university where you can hire people out of. So I think that'll be a nice watering hole for companies to sort of go and build themselves up.
Great. Thanks, Vishesh. So I guess, Srinath, there are questions coming in for you. Just the last two questions. What percentage of help you are getting from ISRO to accomplish this? What?
So we regularly interact with ISRO. I mean, with InSpace, it has made it almost clear that there is also a platform to approach ISRO now. So in terms of help, I mean, they can look at what you've done and they can tell you if you're going wrong somewhere, right? They're extremely busy. ISRO has so many missions planned. So if you have a bunch of designs and you want them to take a look at that, we could approach them, and that is how we have done that. Other than that, now there is a framework to approach them for facility access and so on. So that also keeps happening. I think it's better to access retired ISRO scientists because current ISRO people are super busy and we have a lot of big goals, going to the sun, going to the moon again, human missions. And in this, if I have to go and bug them about, hey, the small engine in this rocket is a challenge, that might not be the right way to also interact, right? But they have been extremely helpful. And this new thing about facilities and so on, and we already started conversations with them. So things are going well there.
Okay, so there is a question. Are you planning to join the human space flight or LEO habitat in coming future? Both are Greek terms to me, so over to you.
No, we would love to participate in any ISRO mission, right? And ISRO has also again made it a level field. If you have a real tech to go and give and contribute at that mission, they're going to be more than happy to, involve you in that mission. It's a question of, human missions are not a joke mainly because the standard and the rigor is very, very high. Aztec, the rigor in space tech is very high. And if you now, within that, if you look at human space missions, it's a lot higher. That said, if there is a thing that we are building that can naturally also fit into what ISRO is looking for in Gaganyaan, then yeah, we'll be more than happy to participate in that. That'll be a great experience.
Sure. Okay, we will take one more question and then. So, how do you plan to test your liquid engines?
We have built those facilities within IIT Madras. So yeah, that's the best way to do it. Right? So that is how we've done.
Sure. So before we end this session, Vishesh, any last tips for founders who are in this domain and looking to raise funds, or fellow investors who are looking to invest in this domain? What should they focus on, and where should all their energy be?
Well, I think the two questions are there. I think for the ones who are actually building ideas or building missions, of course, feel free to reach out to us. We've got our email IDs on our website. We'll be happy to take a look and tell you what we think. I'm sure there are about half a dozen other investors looking at this. So I think it's okay to sort of reach out to people and let them know what you're doing. Maybe still very early, but I think it's good to sort of keep them warm. Like Srinath said, this is not something that everybody has a lot of domain and understanding on. So it's good to sort of educate the investor base and how you're building and what you're doing about it. As far as the venture world, I think the smart folks, a lot of them are already spending time on the sector. So I don't think I particularly have a view or advice on what they should do.
Thank you. And Srinath, any tips from you for founders and students, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, if you want to do something in space tech, now is the time. Don't think about it twice. Just go for it. A lot of startups are hiring. We are hiring. So yeah, please reach out to us, or other startups as well, I'm sure, are hiring. And if you want to start up something on your own, I think you have a platform now to approach the Indian government about it. So yeah, don't hold yourself back. That's the only thing I can say.
Thank you so much, Srinath and Vishesh. This brings to us to the end of this session. It was very interesting to get insights from both sides, basically from the investor's perspective and from the founder's perspective. So thank you so much for joining us.